sleazy, take it sleazy. If you really want to know if you should suck or you should blow, then it's easy, just take it sleazy tonight.
Wow. Just kidding. Wow. Okay, so wanted to show off a little bit of adult baby culture. Got a little bib. These are really excellent for preventing sun damage, like when you're driving. I keep one in my car, and it doesn't mean I want to feel like a baby when I'm behind the wheel. It just is a really good way because so many tops are like low cut, and this is a really bad area for sun damage, and sometimes you put SPF on it, it breaks your chest out. Life hack. Wear a bib. Okay? This one says Daddy loves me or something. Oh, Daddy loves me. I put it like, it didn't quite go around my neck. Maybe that's a sign that you're too old to be a baby. I mean, I just buy this shit at the 99-cent store. They have all kinds of baby stuff, pacifiers, rattles. And this I got off Amazon. But this is a thing, ABDL, Adult Baby Diaper Lover. So this is an adult diaper. This is actually not a really popular look for the real adult baby community members. They would prefer like one that you taped on the side or pinned on the side. This is called a pull-up. This is sort of like the easy way out. But I use these. I use these for my period. And these are probably like the ones used by, I think a lot of people have heard of her, that female astronaut. I shouldn't have to preface it with female. She was an astronaut, and she was confronting, I just say astronaut because it like jogs people's minds of the story. She was confronting a romantic rival, and she just wanted to drive like across state as fast as possible. So she wore diapers, and then she like tried to confront. I think she ended up getting arrested. I mean, I gotta find out what's up with her. I'd love it if she came on the show. The only guests I will have on the show are like felons, you know, like human interest stories, urban legends, welcome to come, but no comics and no porn stars. This is my therapy. I don't want to hear about somebody's project. I don't want to hear about your podcast. I don't want to be on it either. I got enough going on with my own, quite honestly. But some people are like, oh, are you going to start having guests now that it's the new year? Clearly not. Episode 2. I don't plan on doing this with guests. This is me figuring things out. And it would be really selfish of me to do that on someone else's time. I've shown up on podcasts where the guy's just like, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, why am I even here? I wouldn't do that. I'd let the other person talk. But you tune in today because you want to hear about such things as porn and prostitution and being a cougar and fucking and sex tips and comedy. All right, so when you're listening to this, I believe this episode probably drops on the 13th, Monday the 13th. Some places it goes up a little earlier, and you might be hearing it while I am on stage doing my comedy special in Hollywood called Sleazy Does It. And I'm going to say thanks in advance. I don't know if that really fits, and I always hated that term, but I had a really great team help me out. John White, a.k.a. Glitter Pimp. Adam Boren Bennett, a.k.a. Shindig 3030. And Dennis Devine, a.k.a. the Duke of Winnetka. My team, capturing the camera angle every which way. There's even a little upskirt action in my comedy special. So it's just been such a cool experience. And a huge thanks to David Connolly, a.k.a. David Connolly of the Arena Stage. Super, super fun. And, oh yeah, I mean, if you want the visual of a 51-year-old woman in a diaper with pigtails and a bib, and a sports bra, and it's cold. Comedy Pop-Up has the full-length episodes of this podcast and a lot of other good podcasts as well, most of them better than this one. Okay, so, um, I have some entertainment reviews besides just talking about my own entertainment that I'm making. I am in a horror movie that's coming out. It's called Camp Blood 9. I think it's out. Yeah, it's out. I saw it. I went to the premiere. I mean, I do that to support the production. I don't really like to sit around and watch my own stuff. I just rather do new stuff. I'm real busy, you know. Um, but I saw Bombshell. Bombshell is the movie about female newscasters who sued Fox News chairman, I don't know if you call him chairman, CEO, maybe Roger Ailes, for sexual harassment. So it's set in about 2016. It's before Trump got in the White House. So it's not quite grab 'em by the pussy. I think it's pre-grab 'em by the pussy. But Trump's already being a pig, and the newscasters are dealing with that. And then, of course, a lot of them have been dealing for years with their boss wanting them to show their panties and do little twirls for him and eventually suck his dick. From what I could see, he was played by John Lithgow, and I think he's like on a walker or something. I don't know if he could like throw in a fuck into people in this movie, but he got blown apparently. And they don't show anyone blowing him. And I read one review, and they were like, we really needed to see more sexual harassment. We really needed to capture the complete horror. And I was like, there was enough. I mean, if you really need to see more, just watch a porn. Just pay for porn. Just like, you know, go to a tube site if you don't want to pay for it, and sexual harassment porn will come up. And then I read a review that was interesting, and it said that the horrors of the Fox News anchor women, the things that they did, that was also glossed over. But I think we know that if you're working for Fox News, you're probably like a Republican cunt, you know? And I I didn't think that those things were glossed over. I felt like the movie that wasn't what the movie was about. And how long can a movie be? Because every time a movie comes out that's even close to 2 hours, everyone complains, like Hustlers and Tarantino, you know, everyone bitches. So, like, how long do you want it to be? And how much information? You know how I judge a movie? Was I bored? Was I bored? I was not bored at all. It's visually beautiful. Everyone looks great. It told a story. There was some things that rang a little hollow, a little kitschy, a little contrived, but not too much. I mean, not even the fake face that they put on Charlize Theron to make her look exactly like Megyn Kelly. Not even that was that contrived, you know? And probably one of the things that rang hollow to me is not the movie's fault. Like, Margot Robbie. All right, spoiler alert. And by the time this podcast comes out, you'll either have seen it or not seen it. But she's getting sexually harassed. Now y'all want to see it. And she has to lift up her skirt and show her panties. And she's like freaked out. And that was not in her job description, but it is in mine as a prostitute. Like, that is pretty much like where I clock in. So I was having a hard time relating to her feelings of shock and awe. But then, at one point, that Roger Ailes dickhead, he rallies at Nicole Kidman and he says, you know, you need to wear makeup on camera. She just decided to not wear makeup for one day. It's Nicole Kidman. We know she's into fake looks, you know? He said, nobody wants to watch a middle-aged woman sweat her way through menopause. And I was kind of like, actually they do, you know? Granny porn. There's older prostitutes. Hello, I am one. There's an incredible demand for mature prostitutes. The demand is high. Now that the supply is drying up, shout out to coconut oil. Carrington's coconut oil. That stuff really is amazing lube. It smells good, it tastes good. I mean, it really doesn't have a smell or a taste, but it just has enough of a little hint to it to not be bad and to hide the taste of genitals. To hide the taste of genitals of people you are not in love with. Because everything smells. You can get out of the shower, it still smells. It's your junk. Okay? I mean, your pussy is inside your body. It's your insides. It's gonna have a little smell to it. But Carrington's coconut oil takes the edge off. It's really amazing. It can keep an old whore in the game. And it's not some lube that's got some sodium lauryl sulfate that's gonna give you like a bacterial bad reaction. It's really good stuff. It's natural. So you can get the white creamy kind, which will become soluble, or you can just get the cooking oil. Of course, I found out about it on a porn set. The guy put it on his dick, and he goes, it helps dick not taste like dick. And his dick tasted great anyway. I mean, you know, a lot of these male porn stars, they're like very metro. You know what I mean? They get it. Nobody wants to be called like stinky dick something behind his back. Okay, so Bombshell, I highly recommend it. I pretty much like every movie I go see because I don't see too many movies. So I'd be really pissed if I wasted the time and money on something that sucked. But I did not read the Bombshell reviews because I thought, like, I'll at least be into this for, like, the tall blondes, you know, I'll identify on some level somewhere, and it should move pretty fast. And it was a really interesting movie. And my friend, who is probably a little more liberal than I am, I'm a middle of the road Democrat, but he was like, oh, this is like a nightmare because it was about Trump getting into office. It was just like 2016, middle of 2016. But he didn't seem to hate it too much. He thought it was good. He was like, it was good. It's very entertaining. It moves very fast. If you're going to be a critic that says a movie is deficient for being entertaining, then I think you're kind of just a big complainer, you know? Why don't you just make your own movie? And it's also hard because they had people playing famous people. They had a bunch of lookalikes, not just for the women's parts, but like they had a guy who looked like Bill O'Reilly. They had like 15 lookalikes. Lookalikes have egos. If you've ever had to deal with them, they'll be like, "Do you know who I look like I am?" So I say kudos to the cast and crew, production staff. Bombshell, good stuff. 3 movies I've seen in like the last year span would be Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Hustlers, Bombshell. And I like them all very much. I would say I liked Hustlers #1, Once Upon a Time #2, Bombshell #3, and I thought they were all great. Now let's talk about something that was bad. All right. I was making up this joke and I was like, wow, coming into the new year is such a broke ass time for prostitutes because it's the opposite of retail. All right. It's really hard to make money over the holidays because every guy is with his family. So the very best you can do is get like some guy on Christmas whose kids hate him. Okay? Like he's not going to tip. He's a real dick. And I don't want to fuck Scrooge. I don't even want to fuck Bill Murray. And then I find out that Guy Pearce, who's the love of my life, super hot, is playing Scrooge on this BBC version, and it's available on Hulu. So I'm like, wow, I have to eat that joke. Wasn't that great anyway. I didn't hear any of you guys laughing. So, Guy Pearce playing Scrooge. So my good friend, the Duke of Winnetka, he's like, let's watch it. So we filmed some porn, and then we watched. It was Fetish what we filmed actually. If you really want to know, it was like a mommy. Okay, no, it was porn. It was POV, and I was like the mom, and I put a spell on my son saying that he was going to love me forever. It was like a mom seducing a son with narcotics. Family fun. And then we tried to watch A Christmas Carol with Guy Pearce, and it sucked. It was like he was trying to justify Scrooge being an asshole, and he just wasn't believable as an asshole. One thing I love about Guy Pearce is just the goodness he exudes. And I have seen him play an asshole one time, but it was such a bad movie that it was really hard to gauge the performance. I think it was called like An Early Frost or something like that. But this was just boring and dark, and there were not enough women in it for my guy friend, and there was supposed to be some kink, and it was just too long. It was like 3 parts or something. We bailed. I had to get home. My dog wasn't doing so great. I hope she's still with us by the time she's like 16. We're on borrowed time, but aren't we all, right? So yeah, this bib, I mean, there's ABDL, that's adult baby diaper lovers, and that's like a whole culture of boys or girls who like to be diapered and might like to mess their diapers, and pacifiers, and there's mommies and daddies with an IE, and those are like their caregivers, and it's a real turn on. And I do have this website called Naughty Diaper Girls. I hope I did a good job with it. I didn't know there was such a space, and I was doing spanking videos, and this was like 2005, 6, 7, and people were like, you should do diapers too. And I started doing diaper videos at their suggestion, and then they would get mad and go, no pull-ups, no pull-ups. They've got to be, tape or a clothespin, and I kept doing things wrong. Plus, I just hate kids. I'm terrible at putting on diapers. So I was sometimes the baby. One thing I can do is I can piss the diaper, but I'm not going to do that today. Sorry. So yeah, that's one space, one fetish space. And then there's also littles. Littles are more like people dressed like little boys or little girls, but they're adults, but they interact with a mommy or daddy figure. And sometimes it gets a little sexual because, like I said, they're all adults. They're just into being littles. I think I'm getting these communities right, and that one's kind of cute. Like, I would rather be like teen. Okay. Like, my sexual space as far as age play would definitely be like teen. Okay. Like the guy's older, teen. Or, I mean, I one time I had a guy, Paul. This was like a guy said he wanted to do some mommy son role play, and in my mind, the mom is like my age, and the son's like Paul's age, like mid-20s. Like that makes sense. So when people say mommy son role play, I always consider it adults. But hey, that's not where it's at for everyone, and we're not hurting anyone because I think we're gonna call the title of this episode "We're All Adults." But this guy, he was like, Mom, what are those? Like pointing to my boobs. Like he wanted to be like little. And we were doing this, it was kind of a barter thing, so I had to go along. And at first I didn't want to go along because it wasn't my buzz. I wasn't judging him, but it was killing my buzz, so I started fighting him. I was like, well, you're in college. You know what these are, honey. Don't play dumb with me. You know what they are, And he's like, what's that, Mommy? I'm like, oh my God, he wants it how he wants it. He wants to be like 7. So, yeah, like sometimes sexually, and we'll talk about this. We're going to get into sex today. We're going to get into relationships. Um, People are often, I consider S&M a power exchange. And, you can be a dom, you can be a sub, you can be a switch. And often it can vary within the encounter, or it can vary depending on who you're with. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb and say something here. I feel like if somebody's sexuality is defined as kinky, and I'm a little kinky, I'm more just polymorphously perverse because I'm into all kinds of sex, and a lot of vanilla stuff I'm into too. Like I'm just into sucking dick and getting fucked. But I like a little power, sure. But kink, like most people who would consider themselves kinky, I think are submissive, men and women. I think it's people who want all levels of, domination, humiliation. When I worked at a fetish dungeon, I started out as a submissive. That's more of my natural sexuality. And then you get kind of burned out and you want to protect your body from too many beatings. So I kind of became, at my most intense, a light dominant. And I was the kind of dominant that would control you but not degrade you, that would restrain you and punish you but not beat you too sadistically or leave marks. And I would also get naked as a dominant, which a lot of dominants probably didn't approve of, but I was really more of a switch paying my bills. So that was what I did, and I was a particularly good light dominant because I understood the headspace of the submissive. I understood what was hot to them, okay, since I was one. And if you're a guy and you're looking to get laid and you're dabbling in this space, I think tops tend to come out on top. I know a couple of guy friends, and they have said to me stuff like, Sally, mom. I have some guy friends in comedy who do call me mom, and it's not sexual. They don't want to fuck me. They probably would want to if we were both trapped in an elevator for like 3 or 4 days and we thought we weren't going to get out. But a lot of them just think of me as like a comedy mom, platonic. And they have said, like, I'm not really into choking people. I'm not really into spanking people. I'm not really into bondage, but this chick is really, really into it. And she gets really, really wet and she comes really hard and she lets me fuck her. And so they find themselves like kind of being a dom. That's how I did it with a lot of kink. I became like this spanking fetish model, and I'm like, yeah, spanking's cool. But was it something that dominated my fantasies growing up? No way. I didn't even know what it was sexually. I mean, I knew people got punished, but. So I would say if you're a guy looking to investigate the kink space and you're going on FetLife and stuff like that, you're going to do better if you work towards your dominant side. That being said, if you're so submissive that that's what you're really in it for, then you got to do you. There's definitely women out there who like to dominate. My thing is, I am initially submissive. The attraction forms, and then I definitely can become more and more dominant. But I don't fantasize about initially dominating somebody. I don't look at a guy who I find attractive and be like, I want to throw that fucker up against a wall and tell him what's what and grab his cock. Like, usually if there's any cock grabbing, the guy has to put my hand on his dick, like at the movies or something, and I'll be like, wow. Because usually when a guy puts his hand or your hand on his dick, it's hard or something. Wouldn't it be funny if a guy, and you're like, what? It would be funny. I would like it. Um, yeah, I worked at a fetish dungeon, like on and off 1999 to 2003. It was called the Chateau. It was in North Hollywood. It's not there anymore. It was run by a guy called Sir James. He was a veteran. He was pretty intense. I mean, he said he used to fuck Betty Page. Um, and I believe him. He was pretty cool. He beat me with an inch of my life one time, put a bunch of lash marks on my back, but it was for a movie. He got me my SAG card. So I worked there, but there are a couple of fetish clubs that are open now, and one is called Lady Laura's, and that's in like Marina Del. No, it's more like West LA, near Venice. And then there's also Sanctuary LAX, run by Mr. Cyan and Genesis, and that is near LAX, City of Lenox. I've worked there. It's a cool club. Like, basically what you do is you go in or you make an appointment, and then you do an interview, and it's free, or you can tip, but you basically talk to the lady of your fancy, and you tell her what you're looking to investigate, and she's like, I don't do breast bondage, because breast bondage can be really hard on your breasts. Or I can only take a medium spanking, or I'm a heavy player. Yes, you can use a wooden paddle on me. So you work out your levels and you see if that's a good match for your session. And then you start the session, and you're welcome to say, can I talk to someone else who might be a better fit with? And you decide on who you want to work with, and you go into a room and you play. And when there's like a 5-minute warning, you get a buzzer, and you tell them if you want to extend or not, right? Like if you need time to jerk off. Like I definitely, you are allowed to jerk off. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, that clears that up. I bet some people didn't know that. Like, can you go into a fetish dungeon and jerk off? Yes. Can the woman jerk you off? No. If you ask her that, I mean, it could cause a problem. I mean, I know there's people doing stuff, like shit happens, but you're not supposed to get jerked off. And the women, they don't want to get arrested either. So if you walk in there and you're like, hey, nudge, nudge, no, you don't, no. So you're allowed to pleasure yourself, though. And there's all kinds of things. Like Sir James would tell me, like you can get a dildo put in you for humiliation, but not for pleasure. So it's got to be like, not, I don't know. You can pee on someone, but not in their mouth. I don't know what's going on now, but it's S&M. It's not a strip joint. But sometimes I would get a client and he'd be like, I just want to see what this is all about. And basically he was just looking to spend some time with a naked woman. And so I go, okay, well, I can give you a little bit of everything. I can tie you up a little. I can spank you a little. I can tickle you a little. We can do a little role play. All kinds of things. And then it would be nice if they would tip. I mean, this was like, the economy was still okay. Not like Clinton baller money. But you got tipped. Like you would make like $55, the club would make $45, and you get a $20 tip. And some days you saw 3 or 4 guys, and you walked out of there with like $400. And then there were some big ballers, and you're like, ooh, that guy's $100 tip, but he's gonna beat you really hard, I mean, you worked for it. But yeah, it was pretty good. I mean, there's like weird new things now in California with the 1099s, so who knows how they're dealing with the money now. But I don't work at those clubs anymore, but those clubs are great. And Sanctuary LAX, they have a lot of socials. They're very active members of the BDSM community. It's pretty cool. It really is. So that's S&M for the week. How about some more dating? Okay, I'm going to combine some dating relationship advice with this segment on the show that's about moving to LA. Transplants. Remember that band, The Transplants? Paul, you were too young, but do you remember them? I think it was like members of Rancid and some other band got together, and they were out of Oakland. It was real rad ass. Yeah, it was like, yeah, you were 4. It was a little hard for you at the time. But somebody was saying, like, I moved out to LA as part of a couple, and then the guy didn't like LA, and we broke up before he left. He stuck it out like another year after we broke up, but somebody's like, yeah, probably don't move out as part of a couple, especially if the relationship is not going that well, which it wasn't, because he was an alcoholic, and I wasn't in love with him, and I don't know what his deal was. He might have been closeted. I don't know what my deal was. But I say, no. I mean, moving out as part of a couple is a good way to get somewhere. LA certainly worked out for me. I'm going to be a hustler. I have clients. Guys pay to have sex with me. That's what that means. Have a podcast at Comedy Pop-Up. I'm fucking killing it. So thank you, Steve, for helping me get out here. And it was basically his idea. I was like, okay, I'll go there. I moved here sight unseen, and I instantly fell in love with it. And even if you're having a few rocky moments in your relationship, it can really help. Rents are high out here. So I say, It's better than having a baby to put a Band-Aid on it. You and your guy or your girl move out here, cohabitate, try to stick out a year lease. The less domestic violence, the better. And then get on your feet, and you'll have made new friends by then and new connections, and you can stay here if you want to. And if you don't like it, don't. But at least you got to, like, try it with some support. I was very supportive to Steve. I drove him around a lot. I worked with him. I helped him get jobs. He was moderately supportive to me. And I'm like, we're not going to make it. And eventually he went back to Florida, and I believe he's very successful there. So that works out. That's cool. He's not listening to this. He had no interest in anything I did, really. He'd be so sick. He'd be so sick. I hope he doesn't read Hustler. I bet he doesn't. He's not that cool. Do you know how fucking rock star it is to be in Hustler? Do you know how cool that is? I'm so thrilled. I mean, this is just the kind of white fucking trash fame I need. I hope they don't take that in the wrong way. I think they feel me. That's why I'm in there. Anyway, so I will advise you, guys in other states who are listening to this, first of all, thank you for listening. Second of all, get a buddy, get a friend. Even if it's like a friend, just a friend, and they annoy you a little bit, you guys are just trying to help each other get to the next step. It's easier to come out here with someone, I will say that, but I'm not saying you can't do it alone. All right, retro hotties. I picked some retro hotties out. So first of all, for the gays and the ladies, I'm going to go with Richard Burton. Richard Burton died, I think, like maybe 1984, and he was young. He was like 58. He was a total alcoholic. He was a Welsh actor, and he was a Shakespearean actor. He did a lot of amazing He had this very, like, rough, like, just deep voice. It's intense. And he was kind of sexy. And he drank himself to death. Sort of hot, you know, if you like alcoholics. So they often said he was going to be the next Laurence Olivier, but he didn't quite get there. But he was money, he was box office success. And then he was married to Elizabeth Taylor, and they were always having fights. And I think they, like, broke up and got back together a bunch, even remarried. So that was, like, trashy. You know, it was almost like Amy Winehouse and that Blake Fielder Civil guy with the fucked up teeth and the fedoras. I mean, Richard Burton. Okay, so the reason I thought of him was because the female retro hottie is Susan Strasberg, who also no longer with us. Paul's coughing because that's like, these people are dead, you know. His body's in here. There's dust. Susan Strasberg, oh my God, petite, cute little Jewish girl. She played Anne Frank on Broadway. She did not transition to playing her in the film. I don't know why. I mean, she's a very, very pretty little girl. Well, she and Richard Burton did this play on Broadway, and I believe she was like underage, and she was this leading lady, and what a daddy thing that must have been. And it's captured amazingly in her autobiography, which is called Bittersweet, because she was Lee Strasberg's daughter, the famous acting teacher. And I think her mom was like Stella. Am I wrong about this? She had famous parents, and they must have been so intense. And she fell in love with Richard Burton, and he basically just broke her heart. But it's so romantic. And my dad had Bittersweet on the shelf. It's an amazing love story. I recommend it. And then it's sad. It's sad how it doesn't work out. But he was a soak. And she died too young, too. She died of cancer at about 60. I think she died maybe I'm not sure, you know, maybe in the 90s. She was way younger than him. It's a beautiful story. And also Lolita, Sue Lyon recently died. She played Lolita when she was underage, about 15 years old. She's so beautiful, too. That was the original Lolita with James Mason. That's also really cool. We'll talk about that some other time, though. And obviously, you can be a middle-aged Lolita. We've talked about this before. Everyone thinks cougars are chasing down their prey. This cougar wouldn't mind a tranq dart being stuck in her ass and being dragged back to something really fun and consensual. Okay, so Richard Burton, Susan Strasberg, check them out. Susan Strasberg, she's got this sort of starving look that I find really attractive on women. Although I'm fucking straight. So we had mentioned, we were talking a little bit. Oh, let's take a big black cock break. For those of you who are like watching on comedy pop-ups YouTube. That was fake. It didn't really get me like that. I mean, how badly are you going to deep throat yourself? There's pet hair on the balls. I have 9 pets. This has been a week where I've had to go to the vet twice, and that's unusual. And my vet is really cool. Shout out to Dr. Smolin on Satakoy in Winnetka. He's great. I recommend him. And you can say that you heard about him on Porn Mom Podcast from Sally, and he'll be like, oh, Sally, she's cool. He's got this most amazing hair. Some kind of Sam Shepard quality about him. All right, so we're talking about like 90s money. I know I have a lot of younger guys listening to me on here, but this one's for guys my age. Okay, hold on. Yeah. First of all, get a diaper. I'm kidding. But if you've done a lot of coke, you're going to need one because you probably have Crohn's. I know some guys my age, and this is going to sound like I'm working against the women, and I'm not. I'm not. Okay. Look, I'm pro women. I'm like, hey, women, don't date guys my age. But a lot of guys my age, they spend too much money on a date. Like, it's always a dinner date, and they want to take you out, and they want to treat you to several cocktails and get you nice and inebriated and, you know, dessert. And they want to spend like over $100 taking out a lady they met online. And then that lady's like not interested, but she goes out with them again because that was a fun night. Maybe she's not a busy stand-up comedian working every night. Maybe she hasn't gone out for a while. Maybe she's just trying to see if there are any vibes there, and she doesn't always know on the first date. So she's going to go out with you again, and if that's how you date her, then yeah, you're going to spend like well over $100 on the two of you again. And then if she's not interested after that, you're going to be like, what the fuck? Why did that woman waste my time? And more importantly, my money. Was she like a big old, you know, steak guzzler? I didn't get anything out of it. I should have just gotten a prostitute. Well, you shoulda. Call me. Text me. Older guys, don't call me. But basically, you are the one who kind of drove that ship in the direction it went in. I mean, people are going to accept like dinner. Maybe not comedians or anorexics but she's going to accept dinner. And I know a lot of pissed off guys my age, and they're like, I am not just on this app to cater to women's ego. I am not spending money just to I have to be led on. What do you women want? You women are impossible to understand. I hear all this, you know. I mean, guys complain and they say, if you don't want us, let us know. Don't waste time or money. But see, women, especially women my age, I'm born in 1968, we are brought up to be nice, to be flirty, to be smiley, to not be too direct, to give a guy a chance, can't blame a guy for trying kind of vibe. I mean, I'm always telling people, some of my cheesiest Sally Mullins advice is keep an open mind, because it doesn't always happen right away. But after a couple of dates, you basically know, and people start unpacking their baggage, and maybe you think this guy's going to be a little needy, or you're just not as turned on as you should be, and you kind of back off, but then you're like a gold digger, a bitch, a food whore. Here's how you solve that problem, guys. I'm going to say, don't necessarily make it a dinner date, especially not the first date. Cocktail or two. If they don't drink, coffee's kind of cheesy. It feels kind of cheap. But maybe like coffee and snacks, or maybe a bar where there's snacks. But this, like, it's not the Clinton years anymore. Nobody's making that kind of baller money to where, like, let's go out to dinner. I mean, if you're spending $150, if you're spending $300, then God, get laid. Check out eros.com. I haven't had to prostitute in a while. I've mainly been making money off OnlyFans. I'm not saying that you can't fall in love with your fans, your clients, your friends. I don't know. I mean, Sharon Stone is on Bumble. I'm meaning to get on Bumble because I figure maybe that's bringing a lot of younger men who are into older women. But Sharon Stone, for all I know, her age range that she wants, she might just date her own age. But it's gotta be bringing some younger dudes. Like, I'm like a West Valley, really super low rent, never was Sharon Stone. Like if I made Basic Instinct, it'd be called Real Basic Instinct. Thank you. I thought that was pretty good. All right. So I'm telling you guys, don't overdo it on the first date. Try to keep it low key. Spend $40. Maybe I was on a date one time and it was like a ramen date and the check was about $40 with the tip. And the guy didn't know I did porn, and then in the course of the date, it came out that I did porn, and he was looking at me like, "You want to split it then?" Kind of like, "I don't want you because you do porn and you make money, so fuck that guy." Oh, oh. And that was one time that I guess my profile on Tinder didn't make it clear enough. But I did really go on 13 Tinder dates, and nothing really led to anything. I didn't have actual sex. One guy made me squirt, or he just made me pee, and he goes, "Squirt or piss, I'll take either one." And then something came out on his hand, and he was like, "You want to see it? You want to see it?" That's about as romantic as things got for me on Tinder. So I'm thinking of trying Bumble, but overall I'm putting it out into the universe that you gotta come see me, pursue me, find me, do your homework, and then show your work to me. Okay. A little bit more about me before we wrap up today. What did I say we're gonna call this? We're all adults. Okay. Oh, the irony. Perfect, perfect title. I did get an email. I haven't been getting as many emails as I like, guys. HelloCougar1986@gmail.com. I didn't want to print it out because my printer wasn't working. But he said, "What are your top 5 fetishes?" And he goes, "Why don't you discuss that on the air?" or something. I don't even know if he was like wanting to know or giving me homework. But anyway, thank you, Daddy. And let's think about this. All right. So I would say I love sleazy motels. I don't get turned on by opulence or Ritz-Carlton or anything like that. I grew up staying in some motels because of going back and forth from England to America. So I really like when you can look out your door and you can see your car. That turns me on. I like the ice maker. That's hot, sexy, going out to the ice maker. Great time to meet people. The pool. Oh, do you see No Country for Old Men? There's like a cougar by the pool. And she says, "You want to?" I like James Brolin. He's a hot alcoholic. And she goes, "Hey, you want to come back to my room for a beer?" And he goes, "I know what beer leads to, ma'am." She goes, "Beer leads to more beer." I love her. Then she gets shot. Sleazy motels, I would say. Let's see. What else do I like? I like Taboo. I like Taboo. I do like the mommy thing. Um, but I like the son to be of age. That being said, I like age play. I like to be younger. So that's 3. I like to be a schoolgirl. I don't have to dress like one. I like that. I like that seduction. Daddy daughter. Let's say that. I like mommy son. I like daddy daughter. Okay, so that's 3. Um, what else do I like? Spanking's not in the top 5. Well, it's pretty cool. I'm sorry though, it's not in the top 5. Um, I like specifically uh I like being objectified, like fish hook is really hot, like that move. So everyone's into choking. I'm not really into that. Um but I like being examined and opened. Like that's hot, or some guy pulling your pussy apart. That's hot. That objectification. I don't have to be hung up and displayed. That can get a little uncomfortable, and that can take my head into some dark places. And then I would say my number one kink fetish is younger dudes. Although even the younger dudes are getting old, because I am old as fuck. Can you imagine when I'm like 80 years old and I'm like, ah, look at that hot young, look at that little cub, and he's like 70? That's gonna be weird. Hey, keep your eye on me. Come into a rest home near you, and you might get lucky with the queen of gilf porn. This has been a fun one. My show was great. I'm gonna venture a guess that second time was a charm for Sleazy Does It, and I'm coming out in Hustler, and hopefully while you're listening to this, I'm getting loaded or having some relaxation time. I want to go to Carlsbad Caverns. Have you ever been there, Paul? San Diego. I want to go to Hesperia again. I want to see some earthy shit. I'm a Virgo and I want this. And this episode is pretty much all about me, but I hope you got something out of it. I tried to be there for you as much as I could be. And we're still doing this podcast, and it's the new year, and we're pretty much in a relationship now. So, you know what I say? Thanks for coming, and let's do this again.